GJ Math! We are still looking at exponential fractions, but in this case it's a bit more advanced, and you'll notice the difference between this and the other type 2 sums were that there's an x that is double another x. So whenever you get to a sum where the one exponent is double another one, then it is this type of sum, and you are most probably going to do K method and a trinomial or a difference of squares. So let's go through the steps. You're going to identify the smallest term, so the smallest one with x. In this case, it would be this term is the smallest x value. You are going to say that is going to equal k. So I'm going to start my sum by saying let k equals 3 to the power x. The reason we do this is we're going to end up with trinomials, and trinomials are already complicated. But if you put in exponents in trinomials, it gets just incredibly frustrating and difficult. So we're replacing it with k so that we can eliminate the exponent. And then at the end, we're going to replace it back to then solve the actual value for x. So in this case, we're going to say k equals 3 to the power x. And now remember, this first term is just the square of the one we're going to make k. So I can say, therefore, let k squared equals 3 to the power 2x. So now I'm going to rewrite in terms of k. So I'm going to say k squared minus k minus 6 all over k plus 2. Now it's a grade 9 trinomial. I can do it easily and cancel out. And if I can give you a tip, most of the time, one of your brackets at the top would cancel with the bottom one. So just if you get stuck, there's a little tip. It's not going to happen always, but 99% of the time. So I'm doing a trinomial. I know my bottom one is going to be k plus 2. So I already suspect that at the top it would be k plus 2. But let's just double check. So trinomial, the last term is a 6. What times what gives me 6? But when I subtract, it must give me a negative 1. So it's either 1 times 6, but if I minus that, it gives me a 5. So it's not that one. So I can say it's 3 and 2. And then the biggest number must get this sign. So in this case, minus 3 plus 2, let's just remember to put k. And like I said, now there's brackets that can cancel. So I can cancel them, and I'm left with k minus 3. Now, very important, the question was not to solve for k. It was to simplify in terms of x. So I can just say the final answer is then 3x minus 3. Okay, so look at the sum, look at the steps, and just see if it makes sense. But let's do another example. So this one you will see quite often in grade 11 tests and exams. So just something to remember. When I have a square root, remember there's a 2 in front of the root. So 2 to the power x is actually, the square root of 2 to the power x is actually the same as saying it is 2 to the power x over 2. Okay, so just keep that in mind when we're doing this sum. So if this can be written as x over 2 or a half x, then the first term, 2 to the power x, is actually double. The exponent is double, and that's where I know this is a k method and it's going to be a trinomial. So I'm going to say let the square root of 2 to the power x equals k, and therefore 2x would equal k squared. So now I can rewrite in terms of k. K squared minus 5k plus 6, and then k minus 2. Okay, in this case, my trinomial ends on a 6, so I know I'm either going to use 1 times 6 or 2 times 3, but the plus in front of the 6 tells me I'm going to have to add the factors. So 1 plus 6 is going to give me 7, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to then use k minus 3, k minus 2. If you're struggling with trinomials, then please just go check on the channel. I will do an entire video on trinomials and the grade 9 method and then the grade 10 method if you don't have a white calculator. So let's continue with the sum. I can cancel them out and I'm left with k minus 3, but I must remember to sub back what I said was k. So in this case, the square root of 2x minus 3 is my final answer. Okay, next example. In this case, now, what is smaller? Is a half smaller or a quarter smaller? Okay, so I'm one of those people when if I do fractions, I think of pizza. A quarter of a pizza is definitely smaller than half of a pizza. But if I put two quarters together, it gives me a half. So then I know let x a quarter, so always the smallest one, you're going to make k. So then that says x a half would equal k squared. So to do the sum then, I'm just going to replace, so k squared minus 1, k plus 1. And this is now not a trinomial, but it is difference of squares. So a bracket with a minus and a bracket with a plus. And I know k squared is just going to be k times k, and then 1 times 1. The bottom, I just keep as it is, and once again, it cancels. So my final answer would be x to the power 1 over 4 minus 1.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JJ man!